Hey football fans, it's Winona Daily News Sports Editor Adam Watts and sports reporter Alex Vandenhouten here. We're here to talk about last Friday's games. It was the first Friday of football in Minnesota. So I covered Winona at Rochester John Marshall, and Alex was over at Kingsland at Rushford-Peterson. So we're going to talk about those games, and then we're going to go over some of the other games we had in the area, around the area, and we'll talk about what happened at some of those. Obviously, we weren't there to see him, but we'll tell you what happened in them. Alex, you want to talk about your game?
Yeah, Rushford, came away, was actually very impressive with a big 42-0 victory. Normally, we're used to seeing Rushford really run the ball. That's their key, really ground and pound. I even asked Devin Thompson about that a little bit before the season. He's like, yeah, we're gonna have the ability to spread out a little bit and pass the ball around. And they did that right away. That was probably one of the biggest things for me, was just watching them spread the ball. Landon Scallett, had as many touchdown passes as he did in completions. I think he was 18 for 23, something like that. 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. If he can continue to bring that with Ethan Sense back at running back, 1,000 yards last year, this offense cannot be stopped. I think there's an impressive balance, and especially he has the weapons. Kobe Lynn really was a guy that really big time stood out. He stood out in the scrimmage a couple weeks ago, but this time he did underneath the lights, and it was impressive to watch. 3 touchdowns, and also did on defense as well, had an interception. But him and Vincent Mason, really 2 guys that jumped off the field for me. 2 guys that were big targets for Scallon, and they both came down when they needed him the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they lost a guy last year, Jake Paulson. That was a big time target for them, but seems like this Kobe Lind is really stepping up.
Yeah, they haven't missed a beat at all. Devin Thompson mentioned it. The loss of Paulson was going to be potentially big, but they're really excited what Lind can do. He's only a sophomore, but he was a guy they really liked, and Scallon just has great reviews about him. He mentioned that he just needs to throw the ball around 6 to 8 feet around him, and he's very confident Kobe Lind will go down and get it, and he did it. He did it big time.
Mm-hmm. How did the running game look for them? That's usually where they tend to thrive.
Yeah, if they wanted to, they could have gotten 8 to 10 yards a pop. At that point, but and they really showed no holes. The left side of the line too was very impressive. Ian Brown at left guard was a guy that stood out too, and also he plays a heck of a defensive line as well. But they were able to open up holes, really control Kingsland from the start. I think that's what we're going to be seeing. Obviously, Kingsland's not as great as competition as what Rushford was seeing later on in the year, but they were very impressive. Whether it was running the ball or throwing the ball, they did what they wanted, and on defense too, they really shined as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was not quite so lopsided over in Rochester on Friday. Winona had to come back from a deficit there in the last couple of minutes. They scored 13 unanswered points to get a 20-14 victory over Rochester John Marshall. That game got a little more exciting than I think Coach John Casilius really wanted. Go up to him after the game, and he says, and I say, hey man, that was an exciting game, and he said, yeah, luckily we came out with the victory in that one, but it certainly was never a sure thing throughout that whole game.
And I think that's huge for Winona too. They have a lot of new guys, obviously a new quarterback as well. Can kind of get tested early on, but still be able to come back like that. Yep. I should say something about what was, I guess, kind of that vibe as well after the game from them.
Oh yeah. Coming off a season where they didn't have a game within 3 scores in the regular season last year, this is really something new that kind of test their mettle and get them ready for set them up for success in the postseason. Obviously you don't want to talk about postseason in week 1. Maybe we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but there are some tough teams that they're going to have to face if they're going to make a run through there. Something big that really happened. I saw the new quarterback Jackson Nibelink. He struggled a little bit in the first half. He completed 4 passes in the first half. It was like 4 for 15 or something like that.
Was accuracy a problem, or is that just one of those things where he wasn't hitting his receivers, or was it good coverage, or
he threw some really nice balls, and it was just settling down. There was some wind early in the game, and then he was throwing a lot of balls over the top, trying to hit guys and just missing by a couple of yards. And then also you're dealing with, John Marshall had a really strong defensive line, so they were putting pressure on him early. So every he'd drop back and be under pressure almost immediately early on in the game. But they really stepped up. The offensive line did as the game wore on and kind of settled that down a little bit too. That was a big key was the lines. Both sides kind of struggled to run the ball too.
Yeah.
It was really if they were trying to run, it was 2 yards and a cut at us.
It was a war of attrition almost like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So just both sides, especially, kind of the way it started out, both teams were able to drive down the field with their running games early, but neither team could get it in the end zone. So it was just kind of a struggle for both sides. But then things really heated up in the second half. John Marshall took a lead, and Winona came back, and Nibelink made some big plays. He made a big run to convert a 4th down, and then made a big throw to go get. It was a 65-yard pass to set up the game winner, and then ran it in with 37 seconds to go. He scored the game-winning touchdown on a 5-yard run. So that's the way the game turned out. They scored, like I said, 13 points in the last couple of minutes and got that victory.
You think nerves were definitely must have been a big factor? I'm guessing for Winona a little bit, a lot of new guys in there and stuff. And was it kind of you can kind of get that sense a little bit?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. You've got so many new starters, guys filling in holes where guys with some really talented players. This is their first time. These new guys stepping into these big shoes they have to fill. Nibelink taking over for Riley Bostetter, who was the district offensive player of the year last year, and then a guy like an Aaron Witt on the defensive line. He's taken over a leadership role there from a guy like Nick Waldo, who's with Winona State now, who was the defensive player of the year in the district and our Daily News Football Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of new guys playing in a lot of big spots. These guys have played before, they've got experience, but it's their first time as the leaders,
as the guys, as being the guys, for sure. And I guess what's just the keys for the Winona moving forward then? Do you think?
Just like it's always been. It's gonna be they have to be able to run the ball. Trevor Pomeroy ended up with 75 rushing yards, and that's gonna be a big key for them. And being able to open holes for him, and then being able to dominate on the line on defense. They have some big guys and some really talented players up front. That's going to be huge for them. And then another key is going to be Nibelink continuing to progress as his first year as a starter continues. So I think that pretty much does it for those 2 games. Otherwise around the area, Cotter had a tough first night of the season. They lost 51-0 to Medford. Austin Hicks rushed for 34 yards. They are a young team that's going to have to. They've got some improving to do if they're going to, kind of repeat some of the success that they had last year with their first 4-win season in a while.
Yeah, they got an uphill battle a little bit for Cotter. I mean, they made strides last year, but obviously it's a new year this year, and they're going to be in for a battle, especially Friday night too against Medford coming up here as well.
It's Goodhue this week, and that's
Goodhue. Yeah, Medford. They played Medford last week.
They played Medford this week. Yep. So now they've got Goodhue coming up. That's a team that's always really good, pretty much always state ranked, and that's going to be a real test for the Ramblers. And then Lewiston Altura beat Lake City 37-14. They got 261 passing yards from Marcus Weaver, and they just kind of took care of Lake City. And then St. Charles defeated La Crescent 55-0. In that one, Mark Baringa and Drew Maloney each scored 3 touchdowns. Baringa, who is a really good wrestler, made a run made a run at state this last year. He scored on all 3 of his carries during the game, and the Saints racked up 332 rushing yards.
Yeah, the Saints team's going to be interesting to watch because they have the 2-quarterback system with Maloney and Baringa as well. And yeah, when I was talking to the coach out there, Jim Reinhardt, he said he wasn't really sure how this was going to shape out. Just going to be one of those things where it's going to be a feel they're both going to play, because he said they both deserve a chance. And it's going to be interesting to see. You know, look, against the Crescent, who's been down for a few years now. Obviously, they both will get the chance to play, but it's going to be interesting to see in a tight game to see if those two are still going to have equal reps, or see if one guy starts taking the lead, or they go from there. So that'll be something to watch for the Saints as well. That just that quarterback balance, how long it continues.
Yep, that's always interesting when you've got 2 guys that can play. How are they going to distribute those snaps? And then we go over to Wisconsin. Cochran Fountain City got their first win of the season. They started 0-2, but they beat Augusta this past Friday, 23-18. And you know, that's just that team growing up a little bit. You know, talking to Steve Ligo over there, they had a couple of tough matchups in the first couple of games, and they had some growing to do. And they've got a new starting quarterback, Brady Draskowski, and it's just for them, and they're implementing a new offense too. They've been kind of a more spread out team in the past, and they're moving to more of a wing T option attack. So it's just learning how to play that offense, and the quarterback learning to play his position and getting that experience.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a steep learning curve for them so far, hasn't it? They got punched in the mouth the last 2 weeks. But yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, they grew up a little bit this week and got the win. That should say something about they came back, and things are maybe are starting to click finally for them, which is obviously a good thing moving forward. Yep,
and then let's see, Pep and Alma, they lost 34-21 to Webster, and it looks like Jordan Pearson was 7 of 10 for 129 yards and a touchdown, which is a good game for the quarterback, but they just came up short. So that's our week in football this week. Sorry we came to you on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. From here on out, they should be on Mondays, but with the Labor Day holiday, we pushed it back. So we're gonna be reviewing every Friday's football action for you on Monday on WinonaDailyNews.com, and then we're gonna have a preview up for you on Thursday. So that does it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Thursday.